Hey guys, it's Chris and welcome back to the Game of Thrones Foreshadowing series. And for those of you that may be a little new here to SmokeScreen, this is a little series I put together where I go through and pick out those scenes, lines of dialogue, whatever that may foreshadow future events and try to show those payoff scenes. Now obviously it's not all foreshadowing technically, some things are just really cool parallels as well. So be sure to subscribe to get everything. I know a lot of you guys have been asking when I'm getting back to this series, so here we are, let's get back to it. Let's jump right in where we left off. Game of Thrones Season 2, Episode 5, The Ghost of Harrenhal. Okay, and before we jump in, I want to say really quickly, The Ghost of Harrenhal is a pretty interesting name. This is kind of a book shout-out thing as well. Harrenhal is supposed to be cursed, and of course we heard that in the show as well when Tyrion offers it to Littlefinger, because Harren the Black built this castle, ended up being the Aegon conquered it from the air because Harren built it to be unconquerable from the ground, but of course Aegon had 3 dragons. But the interesting thing about Harrenhal, it's supposed to be cursed and haunted and all this kind of stuff, is that it sits right on the edge of the God's Eye Lake, which is very near a certain island called the Isle of Faces, where I think this damn thing's going to end. If you're interested in that video, it will be linked in the description below and probably pop up right about here. Anyway, let's jump right in. In our first scene, we have Catelyn and Renly, where Catelyn is speaking to Renly on Robb's behalf because they want to be allies in the War of the Five Kings because Robb has no lust for the Iron Throne.
The wording of this oath?
The same Ned Stark swore to Robert 18 years ago. Cat, their friendship held the kingdoms together.
So in particular, we hear Renly say to Catelyn, their friendships held the kingdoms together. And it's a very interesting parallel that later on we would see also twice in Game of Thrones Season 7.
Our 2 houses were allies for centuries. And those were the best centuries the 7 kingdoms have ever known. Centuries of peace and prosperity, with a Targaryen sitting on the Iron Throne and a Stark serving as Warden of the North.
So first off, you had Dany and Jon talking about how their houses were at peace for so long and they worked together for 300 years essentially. But the actual payoff scene regarding the Starks and the Baratheons comes also in Game of Thrones Season 7 when we see this.
This is Prince Gendry, Your Grace. I'm Robert Baratheon's son, bastard son.
Our fathers trusted each other. Why shouldn't we? I saw your father once at Winterfell. I met yours. In my shop. I grew up on stories about them. And all I ever knew is that they fought together and won.
And next, during the same scene, we have Catelyn and Renly having the same conversation where they're talking about Robb, they're talking about Stannis, and Renly specifically says this.
Our 2 houses have always been close. Negotiate a peace with your brothers.
Negotiate with Stannis? You heard him out there. I'd have better luck debating the wind.
So he says talking to Stannis is like debating the wind, and ironically, right after he says this, the damn wind comes rushing to the door. And then, of course, during the same scene, we do have Brienne mourning Renly after she has to kill 2 of the King's Guard as well before she escapes with Catelyn. But you really don't know what the hell's going on with Brienne, why she loved Renly so much, why she wanted to be in the Queen's Guard in the first place. But later on, we would get that payoff scene when we see this.
You were King's Guard to Renly Baratheon, weren't you?
I was.
Lord Tyrion said he was a good man.
He was. When I was a girl, my father held a ball. I'm his only living child, so he wanted to make a good match for me. He invited dozens of young lords to Tarth. I didn't want to go, but he dragged me to the ballroom. None of the boys noticed how mulish and tall I was. They shoved each other and threatened to duel when they thought it was their turn to dance. They whispered in my ear how they wanted to marry me and take me back to their castles. Till I saw a few of the boys sniggering. And then they all started to laugh. They couldn't keep the game going any longer. They were toying with me. Brienne the Beauty, they called me. Great joke. I tried to run away, but Renly Baratheon took me in his arms. Don't let them see your tears, he told me. They're nasty little shits, and nasty little shits aren't worth crying over. He danced with me and none of the other boys could say a word.
And of course, right after Renly's death, Catelyn's trying to say, Brienne, you have to get the fuck out of here. They're going to come here and kill you for this. They're going to hang you for it. She doesn't want to leave him. But Catelyn Stark actually has a good point when she says this.
You've got to leave. They'll hang you for this. Now. I won't leave him. You can't avenge him if you're dead.
So of course this kind of drives Brienne to get the hell up out of there so she can actually avenge Renly's death. And later on, of course, we would see this.
I was Kingsguard to Renly Baratheon. I was there when he was murdered by a shadow with your face. Do you have any last words?
Go and do your duty.
And of course, Stannis the Menace goes out like a champ, and he says, do your damn duty. And next we have a scene with Littlefinger coming in trying to manipulate events as usual with Margaery and Loras, where Loras is kind of grieving over Renly. Littlefinger and Margaery finally talk him into getting the horses so they can get the hell out of Dodge. But this kind of keys us in on Margaery's plans as well when we see this.
Calling yourself king doesn't make you one. And if Renly wasn't a king, I wasn't a queen.
Do you want to be a queen?
No. I want to be the queen.
And ironically enough, after she says, I want to be the queen, it does switch over to King's Landing as well. And of course, later on, we would see this.
Your Grace, my sister Margaery, her husband was taken from us before. She remains innocent. I would ask you to find it in your heart to do us the great honor of joining our houses.
Is this what you want, Lady Margaery?
With all my heart, Your Grace. I have come to love you from afar. Tales of your courage and wisdom have never been far from my ears, and those tales have taken root deep inside of me.
So Loras and Margaery pledge themselves to Joffrey so Margaery can marry Joffrey and become the queen in order for her to manipulate him. Of course, in the end, that didn't work out so well. And next we have a scene between two cousins, Lancel and Tyrion.
Wildfire? You wouldn't lie to me, would you, cousin?
No.
That's a lie right there.
They have thousands of pots. Already stored in their vaults, they are planning to launch it from the city walls into Stannis' ships and armies. Please.
And of course, this is when Tyrion finds out about the wildfire Cersei had the pyromancer start to make. Now this leads Tyrion to go find the pyromancers himself, and we see later in this episode, so he can take over the project. Now this goes down a little bit differently in the books, but it all leads up to this. So it does lead up to Blackwater Bay and Tyrion's master plan here. In the books, he does use a chain as well. He has all the blacksmiths in King's Landing build links to a giant chain so they can actually trap all the ships in Blackwater Bay. So they just kind of skipped that part in the show because it wasn't absolutely necessary. Now, obviously, I can't show this payoff scene because we are not at Season 8 yet, but I do think we will see another parallel with Wildfire, at least an attempt at using Wildfire again in King's Landing by Cersei in Game of Thrones Season 8. Alright, and next we have Davos and Stannis as they take over Renly's camp. All the bannermen from Renly now come to Stannis' side to build his army, and this is when they're planning their invasion of King's Landing.
And will you bring Lady Melisandre with you?
Well, that's not your concern.
If you take King's Landing with her by your side, she's a foreigner, preaching a foreign religion. Some believe she whispers orders in your ear and you obey. You won those bannermen from Renly. Don't lose them to her.
So essentially, Stannis is convinced by Davos to leave Melisandre behind. Now, I don't know what she would have done to stop Blackwater Bay. She claims she could have saved all those men, but later on, either way, it wouldn't turn out great for Davos when we see this.
You fought on Blackwater Bay? Did I set your ships ablaze? I wasn't there when the wildfire killed our men by the thousands. I could have saved those men. What I told your son is true. Death by fire is the purest death.
This woman is evil! She's a mother of demons!
Take him to the dungeon, lock him in a cell.
Your Grace! Come on!
You've chosen the darkness, Sir Devon.
So, because apparently she wasn't there to save everybody, to do something with the wildfire, do some magic trick, we don't know what the hell would have went down anyway, Davos damn near dies, Mathos does die, and later on, of course, Stannis would in fact arrest him and throw him in a cell. And next we have a little scene with Bronn and Tyrion walking through King's Landing when we hear this.
Prancing down his blood-stained halls to the tune of a twisted demon monk.
You have to admire his imagination.
He's talking about you.
What? Demon monkey?
People think you're pulling the king's strings. They blame you for the city's ills.
Demon monkey.
Now, this doesn't have a particular payoff or anything for the show. I just want to throw this in there because this is kind of a little book shout out where Tyrion is also referred to as a monkey demon several times, and actually this same scene occurs in the books as well. So just a little book shout out here where Tyrion is referred to as a monkey demon, which in the show they went backwards and called him a demon monkey. Anyway, in our next scene, we do have Theon and Yara as they talk, and people are making fun of Theon. He realizes that the Ironborn are a completely different culture from what he's used to in Winterfell, but then he gets the idea to impress his father when we see this.
Dagmar, the first maker.
Aren't you with the rest of them? Or did they send you? Did they send you to roll me out and dump me halfway in the sea? That would be good for a laugh.
They're not going to respect you until you prove yourself.
Now am I supposed to prove myself by pillaging piss-poor fishing villages?
You're not.
Stony Shore's not far from Torrent Square.
The seat of the House of Tallheart. More impressive prize than a few fishermen's daughters.
We can never hold it for more than a few days. As soon as Winterfell got word that we'd taken Torrent Square, the Starks would send their men to take it back. And then...
So of course he decides here to move in on Winterfell with this ultimate plan here to impress his father, and of course this would ultimately lead to his downfall. At the time we're not quite sure what that plan is, but later on of course before he becomes Reek, we do see this.
I've taken your castle.
Theon?
It's Prince Theon now. Get up. You have to get dressed. I've taken Winterfell.
Alright, and finally in our next scene we do have Arya and Tywin having a conversation at Harrenhal, the place where the episode takes its name.
Girl, where are you from?
Maidenpool, my lord.
And who are the lords of Maidenpool? Remind me.
House Mouton.
You're a northerner, aren't you? Good. And one more time, where are you from?
Barrington, my lord. House Dustin.
So we have Tywin and Arya talking here, and Tywin realizes that Arya is kind of full of shit. She's not really good at this whole game of faces yet because, of course, she hasn't went to Bravos yet to learn to become a faceless man. But essentially, this is what's going on here. She's already pretending to be other people. So I think the Faceless Men storyline is a literal representation of what she was going through in her identity crisis ever since Game of Thrones Season 1, Episode 1, Winter is Coming. And finally, during the same scene, we do have Tywin in there with his council, and specifically they have this little conversation about Robb Stark when we see this.
And what do they say of Robb Stark in the north?
They call him the Young Wolf.
And?
They say he rides into battle on the back of a giant direwolf. They say he can't be killed.
Do you believe them?
No, my lord. Anyone can be killed.
So Tywin specifically asks Arya, do you think Robb can be killed? And Arya says no, anyone can be killed, as she stares at Tywin. And later on, of course, we would see the demon monkey that I mentioned earlier carry out this.
You're no son of mine. I am your son. I have has been your son.
So I do think this foreshadows Tywin's death, and earlier we had the demon monkey comment as far as Tyrion goes, so we do see Tywin end up dying on the shitter by his own son, the little demon monkey. So anyway guys, that's it for now. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm sure there's a lot I've missed, so let me know any moments you noticed in this episode that foreshadows future events, or even potentially foreshadows events that we have not seen yet in Game of Thrones Season 8. And as usual, thank you for all the support, especially to you guys on Patreon. And a huge shout out to my executive Patreon SmokeScreen producers, Lala Gig, Doc Holliday, Goska, HoonJive, Lo Horton, Erin Habig, John Carey, Anastasia, Jason Landers, DTizSmith, MJW, Carole Brown, D Brown, Mike Colton, Lisa Phillips, Alfred Borstmayer, Greene, and Ricky Corotte. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the support, and to everyone on YouTube as well. If you dig what I do here, please give these videos a like, comment, and a share. And be sure to subscribe to get everything and click that notification bell so you're notified when I drop a new video. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.